I'm Lisa Dahl, health and well-being coach. Welcome to Getting Healthy Without Rules. This show is about understanding the things that impact your wellness and finding ways to improve it. In this show, we take a non-diet, no-rules approach to health and wellness. Health and wellness is a moving target. We all have different needs and opportunities to improve it. This approach allows you to make the best choice with the information you have right now. It helps you to be present, flexible, and resilient. In addition, I support you in moving from judgment to curiosity and offering yourself self-compassion. It is time we are all a little kinder to ourselves. As I always share, every health choice we make impacts other aspects of our health. Everything is interconnected. Today's episode is about yoga. Yoga is an ancient practice originating in India thousands of years ago. The Sanskrit word spelled Y-U-J means to unite, which is yoga's ultimate goal, uniting mind, body, and spirit. Connecting the mind, body, and spirit is done through physical postures, breathing techniques, meditation, increasing flexibility, promoting clarity, and cultivating inner peace. Yogis are people who regularly practice yoga and apply its principles of mindfulness and compassion. Often people who have not practiced yoga feel reluctant because they are not very flexible or do not meditate. In reality, yoga is much more than just stretching and is accessible to all, regardless of physical capability. Yoga is a practice whereby one constantly learns and improves, and everyone has to start somewhere. It is a personalized journey towards mind-body awareness that provides calm throughout your day. Simple yet impactful yoga techniques can reduce stress and anxiety for people of all ages. Get ready to learn easy ways to integrate bite-sized yoga sessions and breathwork into your daily routine. Today, my guest and I will share how yoga can seamlessly blend into your personal wellness journey. We will explore what is yoga, how yoga impacts wellness, common misconceptions about yoga, and easy ways to begin practicing. Easy ways to begin practicing with yoga with simple bite-sized practices that will improve your overall wellness. Be sure to stay until the end for this week's healthy practice. I am excited to introduce today's expert guest, April Ropes. April is a Yoga Alliance certified experienced yoga teacher, EYT 500, with almost 2,000 hours of teaching experience. Her approach to yoga is one of compassion, self-awareness, and playfulness. April's classes are welcoming and focus on providing a non-judgmental space for students to cultivate ease into the body and mind. Before we dive in, please note we will use the words fat or larger body during the show. For example, you can be in a fat body and practice yoga. We use these words as simple descriptors without judgment. Fat is simply another adjective, like thin, and it's up to us to remove the stigma and the negative connotation that society and diet culture have created. Also, please remember to consult your doctor if you have any health issues or concerns and are about to begin a yoga practice. April, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm super excited to dive into this topic. So tell me, what in a nutshell is yoga?
Well, okay, yoga is, like you mentioned, uniting body, breath, mind, and it is a practice that's been practiced for thousands of years. We in the West tend to take the practice to more of a physical level, but in essence, we always gather in those, unite those elements, the body, the breath, and the mind. So the goal of yoga really is to quiet the mind and come into present moment.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, and we call it yoga practice, right? Instead of having it be a perfect thing, this thing that you have to do precisely in a certain way, it really is a practice. And it's something that you can bring in little pieces into your day. Doesn't have to be this big thing, right? That we can bring in these little snippets of yoga into our day to help find that presence in everything that we do. So it's a great practice.
And the word practice, in another episode that I have done on mindful eating, and as a teacher of mindful eating, it is all about the practice, which means you can't fail it. Right. We're all always learning.
Right.
How did you first discover yoga, and what sparked your passion for teaching?
So I actually took my first yoga class in high school. It was kind of crazy in the I guess early 90s. My gym class offered yoga. Didn't really know what it was, and I took it. Only a few people signed up because it sounded kind of strange. What is yoga? And we took it, and I was a college-bound high school student, really kind of stressed out, and we got to just sit down, close our eyes, and breathe. And
it's magic.
It was magical, and it was this place. I felt like I came home to something, like something really resonated with me. It planted a seed. So it planted that seed, and then I sort of went away from it for a while. I did a little bit in college, and then it was when I had children, young children, I came back to it, and I needed it. And I found that that little seed was still there, and I went to some yoga classes, and it was back. I found that peaceful place within me. And so I cultivated that, went to practiced yoga a lot during that time. As soon as my husband came home from work, I was out the door going to the yoga studio.
It was your escape.
It was kind of my escape, but I also felt like I was slowly integrating into my life. I was more present with my kids. I was more calm in my day-to-day. So it really gradually started to make me feel like, oh wow, this is cool. This is all part of it. Yeah.
Right. Something that, we often think as an escape or selfish, that you're taking time for yourself. And you were able to take this practice and bring it to be able to be more tolerant, patient, kind, present with your children.
Yes, absolutely. And I've had so many benefits from the practice over the years that I obviously got really excited about teaching it. I wanted to share this with other people, and that's when I did my yoga teacher training, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. It really was such an amazing time, a really transformational experience for me, and I'm so happy to be able to bring this practice to so many people. There's so many different kinds of people, or not kinds, but different types of bodies that I teach, different styles of yoga that I can teach, and it's been so great to see the changes in other people because of what I learned and what I can pass along.
Right.
So.
You give the gift of change.
Yeah, feels nice.
Yeah. There are many different types of yoga practices, such as Hatha, Vinyasa, Bikram, and restorative yoga, just to mention a few. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the different styles and how do they differ?
Yeah, I guess it can be really kind of confusing for somebody who doesn't know anything about yoga, right?
I know yoga as just yoga. I don't know the nuances.
Yeah, and so you look at a studio's website and you say, oh, Vinyasa, what's that? Restorative, what's that? So it's very understandable that you would be confused because there are a lot of styles. In essence, most of the styles of yoga are going to bring in all of that mindfulness, right? And so the practice of, say, Hatha yoga or Vinyasa yoga, those are all about just being present in your body, moving with the physical postures of yoga, but connecting your breath with the movements. And so there are subtle differences, and it's hard to say because every teacher kind of brings in their own take on all of them. Restorative yoga is definitely different from some of those other styles I just mentioned. So restorative yoga is very relaxing. You hardly move at all. You're pretty much on the floor and you're relaxing. There are different poses you put your body into using yoga props, which I can tell you about. I brought some blocks with me, two yoga blocks, but you can use props like blocks or blankets to kind of prop your body up. And the goal with restorative yoga is to feel completely relaxed so that you're able to kind of go to that meditative place and truly let your nervous system kind of recalibrate. So there are definitely lots of different styles. There's power yoga where you're moving and you're stretching and you're strengthening. There's gentle, like vinyasa, slow flow styles, all kinds of different names.
And what about the Hatha and the Bikram? What differentiates those? I'm so curious.
Right, so Hatha is really just the physical practice of yoga. So not to get too descriptive, but the yoga path, like thousands of years ago, had there's a physical part of yoga, which is practicing the postures. There's a meditative component. There's also, if you want to go this route, a spiritual component. So there's all different limbs of yoga, different aspects of yoga. The hatha is really bringing in that physical part and practicing the postures, right? So now Bikram is a physical practice that was designed by a particular person named Bikram Chaudhry, and he designed this series of postures that's practiced pretty much the same every class in a really hot room, like 105 degrees.
So that's the hot yoga.
So that's, and there are other styles that you can also practice not Bikram in a hot room as well.
Okay.
So there's so many different styles.
How does one determine which style is best for them?
That is a very, very good question. So it really depends on what you're looking for, okay? So say you're a person that's working at a desk all day long and you're finding that your body is just kind of,
tight, rigid,
and you just need some nice, gentle release and some stretching and some mindfulness. Then a vinyasa flow class, or if you're a beginner, checking out a gentle or beginner practice would be perfect, I think, for you. If you're finding that you have a lot of physical limitations and you're concerned about injuries or things that you might have, I would suggest a chair yoga. And there are chair yoga classes that are offered at Synergy Wellness, where I work. We offer a chair class. There are chair classes online that you can watch. And really, it's about you're sitting in a chair, but you're still stretching and breathing and using the yoga philosophy to kind of help your nervous system be calm and get to a nice relaxing place.
Yoga is for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. And so I mentioned earlier the props. So I would suggest that if you are finding that you are maybe a little bit intimidated by the whole thought of getting down on the floor and doing a yoga practice and having to get it back up off the floor, there are some styles of yoga that you might want to check out. And I would suggest actually the chair yoga that I mentioned already would be wonderful. And also gentle styles of yoga using props. So if you come to a class and you find a gentle yoga class at a studio, you can say to the instructor, I'm new to yoga. I have some limitations. And you always tell your teacher what's going on with your body so they can know. And then ask the teacher if they can suggest what props you can use during the class to help support your body. And then just take it slow. You don't have to do everything the teacher tells you to do.
Even though you want to be the good student.
Right, exactly.
We all want to do it all.
Right. So it's really all about listening to your own body. And most teachers, all the teachers I know, are very compassionate and loving and kind. And they want you to have a good experience so that you'll come back to their class and also so that you'll feel good, right? That's why most teachers come into teaching yoga.
So you're trying to offer confidence in being able to speak up so that you get that best experience, whether it's your first time, 10th time, or a new teacher walks in.
Yes.
In that ensures that you will keep yourself in safety and the instructor knows how best to support you. That you're not being a nag, you're not complaining, you're not looking for special attention, you're looking to be able to have it successful for you as well as the instructor.
Absolutely. I think that's right on. And I think that making sure that during your practice, like you said, you can come to your yoga mat on one particular day and feel like you really want to work out. And then another day, you might be feeling really tired and emotional or whatever it is. You always need to look at every time on your mat as a very different experience. And your needs might be very different. So, just modify and adapt for what you're needing that day. And most yoga teachers will offer that. Make sure you modify your practice. If you just want to lie down the whole time while everyone else is moving, you can certainly do that, right?
There are no rules.
There are no rules.
There are no rules.
Perfect.
How to be present with yourself and to know yourself well enough to what you need to be able to get the most enjoyable experience of what you're looking for at that moment.
Yes, and that is a practice, right? I'm still working on that
Oh,
sometimes,
we're still
too.
working on it.
I would show up to my first, back in those early years when I was practicing yoga, I would show up thinking that I had to do every posture perfectly and do everything the teacher was saying. But actually, over time, you realize you step back and you begin to kind of peel off those layers of all the stuff you think you're supposed to be and do. And you realize that really this is what you need, is what you know what you need. You're the best person to know what you need.
How do you learn to gain the confidence that you know what's best for you? Right. And it's so hard.
It is. And it's a practice.
It is absolutely a practice.
Yeah.
How can yoga help manage stress and promote mental well-being?
Well, there are so many different practices different bite-sized pieces of yoga that you can weave throughout your day to help you to cultivate that peacefulness within you. And that is a practice, but I can certainly make some suggestions.
Yes, please, tell me.
Okay.
Tell me, can you be that little person on my shoulder
absolutely.
during the day?
I know, you kind of need someone following you around saying, you do this. But, the breath. The breath is key to everything about yoga, right? So, like, breathe, so we can think about yoga as stretching, right? A lot of people think about yoga as just stretching, but really it's the breath with the stretching, with the postures that you're doing that's helping you to find ease and helping your nervous system to reset and recalibrate. So really starting with the breath and not even really doing a posture at all, only just sitting, right? So you're sitting up nice and tall. So we can try this now if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to sit up, you have your feet on the floor, and we're going to do something called a yogic 3-part breath, okay? And so anytime you're feeling a little frazzled and you need to kind of reset, right? You can place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. I'm going to place my right hand over my heart and my left hand on my belly, and close your eyes. And just take a moment to think about your posture. You're sitting up nice and tall and lifting through the crown of the head. And let your eyes soften. Find a nice place where you're feeling kind of strong in your posture, but easy. Shoulders are relaxed. Good. And now on your next inhalation, feel your breath fill the belly, the ribs, and then your heart. And then on your exhalation, empty the breath from your heart, from your ribs, and then your belly. Let's try a couple more. Inhaling, filling the belly, ribs, heart. Exhaling from heart, ribs, belly. And then one more here, on your own. And after you've exhaled out completely and fully, you can return your hands down to your lap and open your eyes. Boy. And it's like magic. Right?
It is magic. It makes me wonder, why don't I take the time to do it? How do we make that a priority in all of our busyness? That, what was that, 30 seconds a minute maybe,
right.
On
so quick,
feeling such a difference in your lived experience. I mean, I'm like quote unquote on because I'm hosting, and
right.
I was still able to bring my stress level down. I mean, not that, I mean, it's stress and not stress.
Right.
And you can still feel the difference in your body. It's crazy.
It's really amazing what just a couple of breaths, or even one breath.
Right.
If that's all you have time for, one breath.
Right. And it's about is it more about I believe it's more about the exhale than the inhale. Or
yeah,
is it...
I mean, it's both, but it's also like really bringing in what we call in yoga prana, life force energy. So really getting that prana to move through your body and really expanding through that inhale is helping to move all of that energy around your body. And then the exhale, is so important too. And really letting all the breath out, and really at the end of the exhale, just continuing to let it out. So I like to think of the breath as you're taking in energy that you need, and as you're breathing out, you're letting go of energy that you don't need, right? Just
letting go of the excess.
Yes. And it can really, truly, each breath is an opportunity to begin again.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
When I talk about intuitive and mindful eating,
Mm-hmm.
every eating experience is a new opportunity.
Mm.
We what can you learn perhaps from the past experience?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a new present experience that you get to choose how that present moment's going to be.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Tell me about the connection between meditation and yoga.
Right. So, as I mentioned before, there are 8 limbs to yoga. So there's an 8-limbed path, and I won't go into all of the philosophy of it. But there are principles to guide your life. If you want to delve into the philosophy of yoga, you can go by these yamas and niyamas. They're called. They're ways to move through the world in a way that helps you to live a good life, shall we say. Then there's also the breath, so bringing the breath in and the postures. And then there's a component of concentration and meditation. And it's very important in yoga, and it's important on your progression through the yogic path. If this is what the ancient yogis practiced, but it's so easy to bring that in these days. But it really is an important part of the yoga practice. It's really the yoga. The first line in the Yoga Sutra, which is the ancient scripts written about yoga, is Atta Yoga Nusashanam, which is Sanskrit for now, the practice of yoga. So it's all about now. Now, how can we get back to present moment? How can we return to present moment? So yoga is about cultivating that practice of coming back to now, coming home to now. And so meditation is also that. It's the same. And it's really about cultivating that, peeling off those layers so you're coming back to now.
And the present moment is what brings you peace.
Yes.
Because we're not worrying about where we were. We're not
Right.
thinking about where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
We are engaged in that present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're practicing yoga and meditation, that present moment would hopefully be a practice of ease.
Yeah, and I think that the present moment too, if you think about it, if you're thinking about what's happening right now, even if there's like a storm going on around
Chaos.
you, right now, if you're really focused on what's going on inside of you right now, everything's okay. Fundamentally, everything's okay. Even if there's a lot of other stuff that's not okay in your life. If you're connecting to right now, you can find peace. And it's a work in progress.
It is a practice. It is, it always sounds simple,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily easy.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a path forward.
Yes, yes.
Tell me, in your experience, what benefits are people seeking when they start a yoga practice? Are they looking to improve their strength, their flexibility, their balance, their inner peace? What do you see?
Oh my goodness, all of those things. When I have a new student walk into my class, they might tell me that they want to get stronger. They might tell me that they are so stressed out and they need some peace. They might tell me that they're a runner and they want to be able to find balance in their hips. I get it all. I've heard it all.
I'm coming to your class. Like you just listed my top 3.
And I have taught yoga for runners. I've taught a lot of restorative yoga, which helps bring a lot of peace. And so there are so many wins, really. And so a person, like I have a lot of seniors that come to my classes because they want to work on their balance. They don't want to lose it.
Right,
Because
and that's
once
so
you lose
important
it,
as you're at any age, but especially as we're getting older, people don't realize that balance training is the key to their independence as they grow older.
Yes. And so we work on all of those things. So it's hard to pinpoint which classes are right for you, because in a way, sometimes what you think you need might not be what you need. Right?
Well, that's kind of like coaching. You think you need X, and as the coach, I hear you. And I also, yes, you are the expert on you. Mm-hmm. Your path forward is not necessarily, like you are, as a coach, you are totally in charge in your path. Mm-hmm. As the expert, it's to help guide you to that path that's going to get you that end result. Because it's not always the path forward.
Right.
Sometimes there's some zigs and zags on how to help get you there.
And
that
I
it's
always
not
love,
black and white.
Yeah, I see. Like, so I've had young people come to my classes and they want to like be able to put their ankle behind their head or so, whatever, get into some sort of all the advanced poses. But it really is about starting with the breath, starting with finding the peace of mind and the finding that silence, that peeling off those layers. And then it's almost like the Karate Kid with like the, wax on, wax off.
Catching
you really
the flies.
need to like the catching the flies, really need to start very simply. And then it builds on.
And it's so hard when you are, at least my own personal experience, I find it challenging, and I have slightly dabbled, is just like a toe in the water of yoga.
Yep.
Because my preference is always much more movement-based.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you help me shift from that need to be moving and active as that stress release to be able to come to that quiet calm that will also offer stress release and all those other wonderful benefits? How do you take that step?
I love that question because I so identify with that. When I first came to the practice, especially when my kids were young, I was doing Ashtanga yoga, which is a very movement-based, lots of strengthening, lots of pretzel shapes. And I was drawn to it. I needed the movement, I needed the release, I needed that. But over time, you really just have to try a restorative class. I fell in love with the more gentle, slower practices because I'm also a runner and I do have that outlet. I do like moving and getting that release that way. But once I found restorative yoga, I was in love with the peaceful side of it. And I understand the need for needing movement, needing the workout, but really it's the internal workout.
It's a mind game, and
Mm-hmm.
about mindset.
So my advice would be to just try it. Just do it.
I don't need much more convincing. I know it's one of those things that is always on my list to do. Yep. I need to just put that into practice and take that next step. What misconceptions about yoga would you most like to dispel?
Oh, goodness. All right. I imagine that people kind of think about yoga as a lot of thin women in the leggings doing headstands and very hard things. And that can be in some places, in some studios, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it is not just that. Right? It is for everybody. So larger bodied people and people with injuries, any sort of limitations. Really, there's really not anyone that can't do yoga. There are lots of things you might need to modify, and there might be styles that you might not want to start off with. But I really, truly feel like it's for everybody. And I really want to have people let go of that idea that they're intimidated to walk into a studio because they're worried that they have to be perfect and do this thing perfectly, because it's not that. And you will find pretty much any yoga studio that you go to, especially the ones around here and all the people I know that teach yoga, every teacher that I know is just compassionate and really wants to help you find a good place in your yoga practice. They don't want to be intimidating. They're not going to make you feel badly because you can't do something. So please just try it, right? That's really what I would say. The other thing I just want to mention is sometimes people think about yoga as sort of a religious practice. And you can come to a yoga class with any faith background. I feel like there are aspects of yoga that have a spiritual component, and some people do go down that road. But it's not necessary in your yoga practice to get that benefit of mind, body, and spirit. So really, it can help you grow more spiritually in your particular faith, just helping you to be more peaceful with yourself. So just come.
Going back to that, yoga is for everybody.
Yeah. Yes.
Some larger bodied women shy away from yoga. They may be stressed about being on the floor surrounded by experienced yogis with those thin, privileged bodies, or being touched by an instructor. And I know you kind of touched on that, but how do you invite that person into the studio for their very first yoga session? Because it's, I work with clients in larger bodies.
Yes.
And the fear of going into some place and having to be on the floor, and what happens if they can't get up, and how do you deal with that person? How do you talk to that person?
Well, so I would definitely welcome them in to the room and discuss with them what their concerns are, if they have any. And yes, if they have those concerns, we will certainly find ways to modify. I would say, first of all, you might start with coming to a chair class. A chair class will give you that opportunity to learn about yoga and learn about the breath, and to be able to integrate that into your routine, your wellness routine, without having to get up off the floor. Many yoga classes that you are on the floor, sitting or in tabletop or standing up, and there is a little bit of a get up, get down. So, but if you're feeling okay, the yoga teacher would probably help you to modify with things like props, like blocks, like I mentioned. They would also offer you a chair. I might offer them a chair. So that they can sit, and as long as they don't feel uncomfortable with everyone else not being in a chair, they could sit in the chair and do things like with this yoga strap. They can, stretch their legs like this in the chair.
So you don't have to be able to touch your toes?
You don't have to be able to touch your toes. No, absolutely not. So yeah, there's so many things that can be modified.
Are the chairs designed to support larger bodied people?
The chairs we have are just the metal chairs. So
there's no arms?
No arms.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's always a concern
No arms.
of, okay, here's a chair. Am I
Right.
going to be able to fit comfortably to sit in that chair?
Right. And I would say too that if they're feeling super uncomfortable about coming into a class, that I know we at Synergy Wellness we do offer classes online virtually. Just if you want to just check them out, you can sign up for a virtual chair class. You can see how it goes, and you're in the comfort of your own home with your own chairs, your own
And that keeps
things.
you in safety to be able to take that next step if you want to be able to go in.
Yeah, and all of our classes are offered online, so you can check them out online. You can also get the recording, so if you can't do them right when they're offered. I know our chair class is on a Friday afternoon, and lots of people have to work, so you can sign up for it and you get the recording and you can watch it at your
So
own
no matter
leisure.
where you are in the country, you can
Anywhere.
take these yoga classes
Anywhere
and
in
be
the world.
led anywhere in the world and have you as an amazing instructor.
Thank you.
Can you take us through 5 key yoga poses for beginners and explain their benefits? And sometimes people are listening to this versus also visualizing. So can you use some additional words as you go through, as if you were instructing?
Sure. And I'm not going to get off my chair because my mic, but I do. I can kind of tell you about some easy things you can do. So for one of the poses, which I won't do, but I'll explain, is mountain pose, which is just standing and being in your body, right? So mountain pose is feet are hip distance apart. You're standing up nice and tall. You're lifting through the crown of the head. So you can even do this in your chair, right? So your feet are hip distance apart. You're grounding through the feet. So you're feeling all 4 corners of your feet connecting to the earth, right? And now if you're sitting, you're just sitting and you're feeling your sitting bones rooted into your chair. If you're standing, you're feeling the whole length of your spine. So even if you're sitting too, feeling the whole length of your spine, you're lengthening out through the crown of the head. And then you're just feeling grounded and breathing. And it seems very simple, but it also says, I'm here, I'm grounded, I'm here, I'm calm, right? So connecting to that breath. So that's mountain pose, right? So another pose that we do a lot is twisting. So very gentle twisting we'll do here. So I'm going to have, if you're sitting in a chair, you want to come a little bit forward in your chair. All right, and you're going to sit up nice and tall, just like we did in that mountain pose, right? And then go ahead and bring your arms up overhead. Reach the arms up. And if you have any shoulder limitations, you might not bring them as far up, so just work with that if you need to. And then breathing in, reach the fingertips up. And then as you breathe out, come over to your right. I'm going to go to my left. So if you want to go, yeah. Good. And then just bring your hand to your thigh, and the hand that's behind you, you can press. If you're on the floor, you can press into the floor. If you're in your chair, just let it hang. Looking over your shoulder, keeping the spine long, and breathe. And then on your next inhalation, we're going to go ahead and come back through center, bring the arms up, and then exhale over to the other side. Good. And then again, looking over the shoulder, and breathe. On your next inhalation, the arms reach up overhead, and then exhale, float the arms down. Good. Good. So that's twisting. And so in every yoga class, you'll move your spine through 6 movements of the spine. So twisting was 2 movements of the spine. So twisting right and left. So another posture that we do is a side posture. So moving the spine in the lateral movement, side to side. So I'm going to have you inhale, take your arms up overhead. Bring your hands together if you can. Now again, if you have shoulder limitations, you can just bring the hands down here or down by your side, okay? So on your inhale, go ahead and come over, on your inhale, go ahead and reach the hands up first. And then on your exhale, take your bend over to the right. I'm going to come the opposite to you so we can come in together. Good. And then inhale, reach up. Exhale over to the other side. This is called Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon pose. Inhale through center. So you can do this over again. So linking breath with movement, using your core strength. Can you feel your core work a little bit here? Good. And then inhale through center. So this can be done seated. Go ahead and bring the hands back down into prayer. Take a breath in and a breath out. Good. Release the hands down. Roll your shoulders a few times. Good. All right, so we did a little, how many poses? Was that 3? So you wanted 5. So we're going to do a little forward fold. So this is something I do in a chair class, and I'll let you use one block because I have 2 blocks. Placing a block in front of you, right? And so you're sitting up nice and tall. And if you have any issues with blood pressure, you want to make sure you keep your head upright when you're doing this, and not totally letting your head flop down, right? But we're just going to hinge from your hips. So you're hinging from your hips, and we're going to bring the hands to your block. And if you can't reach your block, you can always stack things, like stack. If you don't have blocks, you can also use books, right? And then you're just letting yourself just hinge forward. And again, if you don't have blood pressure issues and you want to let your head just hang, you can do that. If you do have blood pressure issues, just keep that head lifted. And then breathe. And this helps to let the nervous system recalibrate, connecting to your breath and allowing that vagus nerve to be activated to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, helping to get that rest and digest response in your body. When you're ready, you can go ahead and walk yourself back to an upright position. Yeah.
Look at all the things I've been missing.
There's so many, I know. There are so many other postures I'm thinking of on the floor that I won't be able to do, but in the chair, there's so many things you can do. But moving the spine, I want to do one more.
Oh, you can do one more.
Okay, I just thought of another one. So in the chair, so we've moved the spine, twisting in both directions, and then we've moved the spine laterally in both directions. Now the other 2 directions of the spine are flexion and extension, right? So coming back to the front of your chair if you're sitting, bring your hands to your thighs or your knees. And now here we're just gonna let the belly kind of drop between your legs here and look up. And you're arching your back, bring your shoulder blades a little closer together. Yeah. Now take a breath in. And as you breathe out, go ahead and lean back and round your spine like a Halloween cat.
It's like the cat-cow in a sitting position.
Exactly, yes. Good. And then inhale, you can come back through, let your heart shine through. And then as you exhale, you're rounding. Good. Let's do one more. Inhale. This feels really good. And exhale, round. Good. Good. Then coming back up into center, upright. Just take a moment to notice how that feels. Good.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
So
feels so good.
So those are those are 6 directions of the spine, and I would say if you can at least do those, every day, it'll keep your spine healthy. And happy spine is healthy, happy body, right? You really got to take care of your back, and that's just going to have a ripple effect through everything else.
What advice do you have for maintaining a home yoga practice? The person who wants to do it themselves.
Okay.
Or,
Absolutely.
Goes once a week.
I would say set a time. For me, that's important with my meditation practice. I get up every morning at 5:30, and I have my little timer on my clock, on my phone, and I hit my meditation mat, and I just close my eyes and I go. And if I don't have that routine, I fall away from it. That's not everybody. Some people are able to meditate whenever or do yoga whenever. I like to have a little bit of a routine if I can. Mm-hmm. So that would be one thing you might do is just set a timer, right? Just pick a time and set a timer. And if you're feeling like you can't do a whole hour or even a half hour, even if you can only do 5 minutes of what we just did, can you say, okay, maybe I'm going to drink my coffee in the morning, and then I'm going to do a few of those movements in my chair, and then I'm going to go to my desk and I'm going to work.
And they make a difference.
And they do make a difference.
I mean, we're sitting here and I'm, quote unquote, working, and it makes a difference.
It does.
It just drops your entire stress level down.
It does. And I find that, I'm also a graphic designer in my other life too. And so I'm at a desk a lot too. And I find that I will get up from my desk several times during the day, and I will do those 6 movements of the spine in standing. And I will feel so much better. And I use the breath too. So I do a lot of, if you're feeling those 3 p.m. sleepies, if you're at your computer, and I don't know if anyone can relate, the breath can be really helpful there too. Inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. Right? It wakes up your brain. You feel it, and then you can just get right back on your computer and start working away again. It's a different type of practice. Often people at 3 o'clock, and I'm not saying whether you should or you shouldn't, get up and have a snack. Mm-hmm. It's something that you could try in addition to or instead of, another tool to be able to learn to use so that you have multiple tools that work at different times during the day. I love that. The word tool, the toolbox, right? Yeah. So yoga is just another thing to put in your toolbox, right? Absolutely. I have all kinds of other practices too, but yoga is one that really resonates with me, but I use it a lot. It's in my toolbox, so that's a great word. How can yoga complement other fitness routines or sports? Okay. It's great. So, because you said you're a runner. I'm a runner. It's how do you find time? How do you balance? Yes. What's a good cadence? And I know there is no perfect for everybody. In general, because everybody has to figure out what works best for them, and how do you marriage the two different things. Yeah. So I've taken some training with Sage Rountree. She's a yoga for athletes yoga teacher, and I'm also a runner. So I've done almost a dozen marathons in the past, and I've taught some yoga for runners. And I get that question a lot: how do I put all this? How do I? It's another thing. I got to fit my run in. How do I also fit this in, right? So I also struggle with this, right? And there's something that Sage Rountree coined called parking lot yoga, which I use a lot. So this is something that before or after your run or whatever activity you're doing, you can you don't have to get down on the ground, right? It's stretches and sort of mindfulness techniques that you can do to integrate before or after your run. Takes like 2 minutes. And these are things so I would say if you can't do any other practice during the week, at least do the parking lot yoga, do some stretches, mindful stretches, right? So we're not just mindlessly stretching. With intention. It's with intention, and that's the yoga piece, right? Bringing the breath in, closing the eyes, and really feeling what's going on in your body and knowing. And that's another thing, if you're doing some yoga before you run or bike or whatever you're doing, you are tuning in to what's going on in your body today. So maybe you don't want to go really like do your
Yeah,
speed
we
work
like
today.
to ignore that
Yeah.
part.
I know.
Right.
So maybe, you got that little thing going on in your heel. Maybe you want to take it a little easier in that, and just keep that in mind as you're running.
Absolutely.
So I like to use yoga as a mindfulness tool, mostly at the beginning of your workout to loosen and limber up, not necessarily to stretch. You don't want to stretch cold, right? Anyway, so before you're doing your workout, you want to incorporate some mindfulness and some, moving the limbs, rolling the shoulders, doing some of the twisting, and just getting the spine loosened up, that sort of thing.
How do you bring this practice, as moms, parents, dads, caregivers, whatever, however you identify, you're carting kids around. How do you bring this practice to yourself as well as bring this practice to your children?
Well, I've been trying to get my kids to practice for a long time.
So you don't have keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, right, yeah. So if you have the answer to that, but no, it's a practice. It's a practice. So it's finding that balance, right? What's important to you, and it's true of all caregivers. We have to find those pockets of time that we can really truly take care of ourselves, because sometimes we are so focused on everybody else, and I think that we're all sort of trying to navigate and find our way. I don't have any hard, fast solutions to that, because I think that we're all just trying to do the best we can. But I would say that as much as you can integrate these little nuggets into your day. I used to do yoga with my kids crawling around, and I did take them to baby yoga classes and stuff. That was kind of fun for the community.
Right.
And I did go to prenatal yoga, which is also a really nice opportunity if anyone is expecting a child. It's a really great opportunity to connect and prepare your body for the experience. So I do find that there are ways to integrate. It just depends on your particular situation.
And you just gave great examples that there's different types of yoga no matter where you are in your life. Mm-hmm. That how you practice yoga as a young pregnant mom may not be how you're going to practice yoga 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. How do you bring those kids into it? How do you do the mommy and me yoga thing? How do you do yoga for aging? Mm-hmm. And there's so many different alternatives that it's really hard to say, well, yoga isn't for me, because you just gave so many different ways in which you can bring a practice that you could hopefully connect with.
Absolutely. And it's a lifelong practice, right? Like I was telling you, I was in a different place when I was, a young mom.
And our bodies change.
And our bodies definitely change. And I used to do headstands, and now I don't do headstands. We get what we need from it at the time, and it changes and evolves just like we do.
Right.
That's really great.
And it helps you accept your changing body, that even though you may not be able to practice it the way that you did before, in that present moment, you can still gain so much for what it is that you can do today.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
When searching for a yoga instructor, what advice would you give about identifying the right professional? Are there any specific credentials to prioritize? Yoga has become so popular, and so many people have, gotten their yoga certification. How do you differentiate, but who's a true professional and who's going to serve you to keep you safe?
Yeah, so we do have a governing body called Yoga Alliance. Not everybody is registered. It's not to say that a yoga teacher who's not with Yoga Alliance isn't a good yoga teacher. So I don't want to preface it by saying, but it is a great place to start, because that if they have gone through a Yoga Alliance certified school, that the teacher has learned certain things about anatomy and about yogic philosophy, and so there's a standard, right? So I would say that it is a good place to start. And if anyone does have any questions locally about finding a place where they can, a good class or a good instructor for their needs, they can certainly reach out to me at Synergy Wellness, and I'd be happy to point them in the right direction.
Is there, somebody who has never taken a yoga class? is there a particular type of class that they, quote unquote, should look for on the description board? What are key words to know that it's really the right place for them to start?
I would definitely try to look for the word beginner if you can. And sometimes you won't find that. There are sometimes beginner series offered, so that that everybody else in the class is also a newbie, and that kind of takes a lot of pressure off.
Absolutely.
So we, at Synergy, are trying to offer that every once in a while, because we'll get a new batch of beginners, usually in January. Look out for those.
Right. The new me, I'm going to fix myself.
Exactly. It lasts for a little while. But you can also come into, I would suggest maybe a gentle yoga class, just to see how your body responds to it first. If you're new to yoga, I wouldn't charge into anything, like power yoga if you're brand new, because you might love it, but you also might leave thinking this is overwhelming. And so I would suggest easing in slowly, and a gentle practice would be a perfect place to start.
Somebody doesn't have time for meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get the best kind of 2-for-1 if you have to choose between yoga and a yoga class and meditation?
I think so.
Is it kind
From
of
my
like best
perspective.
bang for? Is it the best bang for your buck? Time-wise.
That's a great way to look at it. I also meditate. I sit on my cushion every morning, and I also do yoga, right? But yoga does offer both. Yoga is a way to. I feel like yoga. So yoga is a way to be in your body, you're present in your body. And you are also in meditation, you're supposed to be in your body. But when you're just sitting, sometimes it's very, very easy for the mind to spiral away into la la
the practice
land.
is bringing it back.
But when you're in your body and you're being kind of instructed or whatever to move in a certain way, you're present and you're mindful, right? And then at the end of the class, this is the best part, is Shavasana, the rest pose at the end of the class, is your opportunity to kind of soak in all of that peace. You don't have to move. You lay down, and you've moved your body, and now that's your opportunity to just let yourself be, and that's the magic that happens.
One of my previous guests was a massage therapist, and we were talking about how we'll take the time and go get the massage, or in this place experience, get the yoga and the meditation together. Talking about how to make that feeling last without, okay, I spent an hour and I did my calm thing, and now all of a sudden you walk out and you are 100 miles per minute.
Mm-hmm. If they could bottle that and sell it. No. I think about that too when I go away on vacation, right? Like, how can I bring this vacation mind back with me to my regular life? Same with yoga, right? We have that beautiful Shavasana experience at the end of the yoga class, and you walk out. And I always tell my students, be careful driving home, because you're driving under the influence of yoga. You're just so relaxed, right? And, how can we keep that with us is the key. That's really,
how do you remind yourself to just be in the present moment periodically as much as you can throughout the day, and to bring those bite-sized pieces of at your desk and while you're driving around and schlepping kids and doing all those things, to take those mindful pauses, and just, you can take it with you that it's not all or nothing, no matter what time of the day it is.
Yeah.
Before you tell us about this week's practice, are there any other words of wisdom you would like to share?
I would say just do it.
That's it.
And like I've already mentioned, it's called a yoga practice, not yoga perfect. And it's
so important.
Stealing that from one of my friends. One of my friends is a yoga teacher. She always says that in class. It really, truly is a practice. So just try it. Sometimes it just if I don't feel like I have time for a run, I put my shoes on. Just the act of putting my shoes on and running 1 mile, I might feel like, oh, I can run 2 miles. So really just doing it. Just do it for 5 minutes, put a timer on, and you'll be amazed at, over time, how much change.
And the timer is really key, because when I work with my clients and we're talking about, just trying to find ways to do it, because if you don't set that timer, then you're so focused on, how long has it been? How much longer do I have to sit here? And it's one less thing to worry about. You get to be in that present moment to enjoy the experience that you are choosing to dabble into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So do you have, I know you shared those beautiful poses, so I don't know if there's anything else that you could quickly share with us as a practice for the week or a first step that...
Yes. Well, so I did share what I was going to share as the practice for the week was that mindful breath, right? And that can be done anywhere, anytime. So maybe when you're driving, you should have your eyes open. But connecting to that breath and just, we can do it again if you'd like, just placing one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, and both feet on the floor if you can. On your inhales, you're expanding the breath into the belly, ribs, and your heart, your upper chest. As you exhale, you're emptying the breath from your upper chest out through the ribs and then the belly. Good. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Try it.
And what's so nice about that, as women, we are so focused on keeping our bellies tight and standing and making sure that we, look correct, and permission to let your belly be soft so that you can soak in that relaxation and bring in that breath, because you can't do it with that tightness,
right?
And you letting that stress go. It makes such a difference. So thank you so much for being my guest today. It was such a treat.
Fun.
And today we learned yoga connects the mind, body, and spirit through movement, breath, and meditation. Most importantly, yoga benefits all bodies and is adaptable for every body. If you would like to continue the conversation, please join me for my monthly office hours as well as conversations, and I always welcome your thoughts and comments, and I look forward to you joining me next time on Getting Healthy Without Rules.